The digital edition of Labyrinth, the War on Terror, has made available an AI bot for the US player. Today I take on the role of the bad guys while we give this AI bot a spin. Here today on Legendary Tactics. I don't think I have tried the AI opponent yet on this game. I'm not sure why. I usually play against the flowchart, and I find that the competition there is just fine. But we're going to give it a go today. So here's our opening hand. We have Saddam, Saleh, we have Kurdistan, we have Iran, we have Fatwa, we have Islam, Libyan deal, Benazir Bhutto, and Kemalist Republic. So nothing spectacular. We have some pretty good ops though, and especially the ops on the US events that won't be triggered. So I'm going to recruit in Afghanistan right away. Now, one of the things that the AI bot does is that if the AI bot plays a card, then the event is triggered, unlike against the flowchart. So that's kind of interesting, and it's actually a lot more fun. I tried to use Iran's event to worsen Pakistan's governments and couldn't do it. My AI opponent plays Tony Blair for the event, and that's because Al Gore is assumed to have won the election. The U.S. is soft on terror, so I think that was an attempt to make sure the UK was on as much as possible. The world was on the US side. So I'm going to now take the Schengen visas event and just kind of picking two spots at random, Benelux and France. Now, in retrospect, it may have been better just to go to the same country because this kind of helps out my US opponent. It's been a little while since I played Labyrinth. I found there's a couple of things, not mistakes exactly, but just showing the rust, I guess you could say. Anyway, the War of Ideas fails spectacularly in Gulf states, which is fine by me. And so I'm going to just let this event happen. Turkey is always so out of the way in the first two scenarios. It's never really a big deal if it's at fair and an ally of the U.S. But I'm going to take the opportunity to move into the U.S. Given the fact that I was there before the Patriot Act was passed, so that's good. So I'm inside the U.S. I'm also curious just to push the boundaries on what the AI is going to do in this case. Now again, I do feel like I did kind of misplay a few things here, but I did get a plot in the US, which is interesting, so that could cause some problems. Mainly I'm looking to trigger a prestige roll any way I can. And the AI bot always has this funny thing where it never alerts the plot on the first card. It always does something else first. The Gulf states gets to be good governance, and now I at least burn that alert up. So I was hoping, maybe to, if I can get a plot to land there, that it can mess with the US plans and especially trash prestige. So the Kurdistan card, again, we'll try another plot. Really, maybe not the most optimal play, but I was thinking, hey, if I can also burn through some 3-ops cards of the US, then that would be helpful. So we'll do that again, and really again, bit of suboptimal play here. Probably would have been better to recruit in Afghanistan, but I did get a plot, so I can't necessarily say that was a terrible idea. So we'll see what the reaction will be. And at first, it's a War of Ideas in Benelux. Interestingly, I'm not sure exactly why that would be the case, especially if it's already soft. But I don't know. The bots are never that smart. Now, this was an interesting play. So alerting the plot and then letting me place 2 other plots with that event. So long story short, I think this bot may need some work. That would have been a great card as the first turn, because I had not left Afghanistan, which would have essentially nullified that card and meant nothing. Essentially, I lose a cell. That's all that would have happened. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think the flowchart may actually be a better opponent in this. There's just a few too many things like this that go on. Now, the plots went off, but didn't... the plots went off, but didn't actually accomplish much. So I'm going to finally get around to recruiting in Afghanistan and see what I can do about flipping Pakistan to Islamic regime. And with my cell in the States, I'm hoping to maybe do something there. Saddam is up, and again, we're going to move into Pakistan with that card. Yeah, we'll see what the response is. It's another war of ideas. I did find that the AI tends to do a lot of war of ideas, for better or for worse. But I guess while the prestige is good, while the world's on their side, why not? Unfortunately, it has a lot of misses. Now, I should have, unfortunately, I maybe played this event earlier. I think it would have been more effective if I'd thought about it perhaps more thoroughly. But anyway, we'll just use this as a recruit and just add a cell into Afghanistan. It's no problem that way. There's no real downside, but as it turned out, the Lebanon War card would have been useful, perhaps as a help in. I mean, I would have maybe discarded a random card that may have been of benefit, but the prestige is trashed, and I do get another cell in Pakistan, so that's that works out fine in the end. It would have been nice to perhaps have an annoying American event discarded, but there you go. So end of turn. Prestige is now 5, which is great, and you can see I've got a lot of events, and a lot of them are unplayable, which is okay, including 2 fairly good U.S. events. But the one that I'm most excited to see actually is Patriot Act, because I can control that one and dispose of it and not have to worry about having to be restricted in getting into the U.S. Because I'm hoping for maybe a quick win with a good combination. I'm going to use Kazakh Strain for the event here as the opportunity presented itself, and that's going to give me a WMD. And so it's always weird playing this game as the jihadist side, because you kind of feel like an evil person doing it. I usually play the US, but I thought the AI bot is not available for the other side yet, so I had to play it this way. But anyway, it doesn't hurt to kind of give an example of play as well for the other side. As well, it can't all be the U.S. play. Sometimes you got to be someone has to be the bad guy, right? So, so homegrown is next, and that's fine. It gives me another opportunity in the UK, and here again, my Rust showed I did a minor jihad. I meant to do a major one, and instead I lost a cell over it, to no real gain on my part. So that was my fault. To be fair to me, the interface isn't that clear. You have to click on the minor and change it to major, and it's not really clear on that how to do that, unfortunately. So I'm going to use Backlash to get another cell from Afghanistan into Pakistan. And these are my cards. I got NATO, CTR, Ansar al-Islam, Patriot Act, as I mentioned, and Jihadist Videos, which is another great opportunity recruiting wise. Now, Al-Azhar is used for a war of ideas, but nothing. I'm not too worried at this point. Sistani, I'm fine if that gets used on a war of ideas in Saudi Arabia. That one does work, and Saudi Arabia improves to fair. So now I'm going to do this the proper way with the NATO card, and I'm going to as you'll see, you just have to click on the word minor. You just click it, it goes to major, and then it does what it's supposed to do. And again, I don't sweat this. I mean, I did get one hit, and that creates a besieged regime, which means it's pretty much a guaranteed thing next time, which is fine. And here I chose Saudi Arabia, Egypt, which I can't remember why I chose Egypt. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to have cells scattered over that way, but sensibly I did try Indonesia. And we got one in Saudi Arabia, which could be used as a reasonably good plot there. And I also got a cell in Indonesia, which will factor into things a little bit later on. So I generally like to keep the cells together as best as possible. I find you can waste a lot of operations points trying to get the band back together, and it can really hamper your play style. So FREs send some troops back. So there's very few U.S. troops on the board, just a couple in Saudi Arabia. So it's pretty bold. I mean, certainly the full hand of cards doesn't hurt for the U.S., but still. Anyway, this was kind of an interesting spot here, because I suddenly found myself very short of ops, and the only ops available was an event I did not want to happen, which meant it had to be a plot. So I was kind of torn. I didn't see a great use in the play of the card Ansar al-Islam. Those cards are generally better for when your funding is low and you need to get some cells on the board. So I'm just gonna kind of set things up, get into the US here from the UK, and do a bit of traveling, and see what havoc I could get up to. Now, this did shut the door on Kazakh strain and that sort of thing. Basically, the card that prevents the use of it prevents getting WMDs in those areas. And then the AI plays Martyrdom Operation, an absolute, to my mind, an absolutely bizarre play. It basically allows me to play both plots. He knows I've got a WMD, and then uses this for a war of ideas. And I'm like, what the heck? You've got one card, and it's the KSM, which was actually a great move. It actually takes the WMD out of play. Removes it harmlessly, gives, it was actually a very solid play. I have to commend the AI on that one, because that one was really good. And it kind of neuters my, not totally neuters it, but kind of affects my first plot that I want to do. I kind of just am, maybe hoping for a bit of funding, essentially, at this point. There's no real upside of this plot. Other than that. So I mean, if I'd gotten a plot in Saudi Arabia, yes, it would have been valuable, but with only one cell there's only so much I could do. So War of Ideas, and interestingly, plays Pakistani Offensive, which is one of the best, I think, event cards in the game. If you're under Fatah, you'll know what I mean. But I mean, Pakistan is always going to be a threat to the U.S. position, so Fatah can be pretty rough. Anyway, that's the card that cancels it. There's a Disrupt in Saudi Arabia, building up a bit of prestige. It's now in the 7 range, and then plays Taliban as War of Ideas, and gets Pakistan to fair. So there's definitely a little bit of a U.S. there's a little bit of U.S. momentum happening. But that said, I honestly did not feel that threatened for whatever reason. I know that there's 6, almost 8 resources under U.S. control, but I felt like I had a good setup where I could manage this pretty well. So I've got the Musharraf card, which is great just to worsen the governance automatically in Pakistan. Al Jazeera could potentially be of help. Bunch of other events that cannot happen, and of course the Darth Vader himself in that one. We got a reasonably good hand, some ops there. I'm going to use the Musharraf card to improve, or improve for me, but worsen the governance in Pakistan. And then I'm just going to travel sell over, set up my my next big move there. We'll see what the reaction is. So Darfur is the next move here, and I thought, oh wow, okay, this is a reasonably decent play. It is offset. Now I probably would have moved, you know, 2 or maybe even 3 troops from the troop track, but that's fine. It's not a terrible move to get out of Saudi Arabia, and in fact it neuters the Al Jazeera card for me. So if you know, a player's worried about that, then it's not a bad thing. Anyway, that's where we end up. And so those 2 troops just kind of throw a little bit of complication in there, but it's all right because I'm going to be able to move those 2 guys over from Afghanistan. Unfortunately, I had that there, and so it was kind of more of an annoyance than anything else. And so I thought, well, let's get this thing underway, and we're going to see what we can do here. We miss on the first one. On the second one, we get a hit, and we lose in the last one. So that's fine. It is at Islamist rule. I get the WMDs. And because there were troops there, the US prestige drops down to 1. Totally trashed. So suddenly oil price spike comes out. I think, oh my gosh, he's pulling back Benazir Bhutto. That's an interesting card. That may change the, you know, how things go here. And plays Benazir Bhutto, and oddly, for War of Ideas in Indonesia. So again, a bit of a questionable play there. I mean, if it were me, I would honestly be looking at something, maybe even shifting to doing a reassessment and changing over to hard stance, because as you can see, with a few more cards, I can get things rolling in Indonesia, and I have the forces to do it. It's just a matter of getting there and lining things up. So given the fact that he's still at soft posture, there's not a lot that can be done. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to reassess, which is going to cost him 2 3-ops cards and a turn. That's interesting, and I am moving into the U.S. as well from the Philippines, thanks to the Abu Sayyaf card that gives me the sell there, just to keep my options open. Certainly a martyrdom operation card would not be good. I believe there's still 1 left in this in the first deck here, so just kind of setting myself up. He doesn't seem too eager to do any disrupts in the U.S., and so I'm fine with that. He loaded up his reserves, and for some reason gives me more cells in Indonesia, but he does a War of Ideas in France for some bizarre reason, maybe just to get prestige. But I would do the disrupt in Pakistan, or I guess, sorry, you can't do the disrupt in Pakistan. That's right. So yeah, probably that was the best thing if you're looking to recover prestige. And so we use the Darth Vader card there, and we get a miss, but we do have a besieged regime, and we do still have the cells that we need there. So things are gonna have to wait until next turn at this point, because I've run out of the ops here. But and I didn't want that event to trigger, so you know, just we'll muck around, and I'm feeling pretty confident in my situation. So we'll do a couple plots here, and we get 1, so we're just gonna send 1 to Central Asia. And Quartet came out, which is actually good that I didn't play the Abbas card, and Special Forces, just to more or less prolong the inevitable, removes a cell from Indonesia. And I don't need a cell in Somalia, so I'm just going to travel from Pakistan and essentially reload. And because of the Indonesia's a besieged regime, it's kind of a done deal here unless there's something big that the U.S. can do. So again, overall, I don't think. I mean, again, if you're a beginner, I think you'd probably find the AI, reasonable challenge. I think there's always the weird plays that bots do. It's kind of part of the fun if you've played a game a lot, just to see what sort of craziness a bot gets up to. So I get, interesting, the U.S. election turns up, and Kashmir and Hambali. So just for fun, let's trigger the election first. And he changes over to hard, which means his war of ideas. It's the worst possible situation in that area. Now I'm just going to recruit to replenish the cell. I just needed one. I got one, so that's perfect. But the U.S. right now is in no position to do much of anything. It's pretty much a done deal at this point. Even if I miss this roll, there's really nothing that the Americans can do. And we roll, and we get our hit. And that's it. That's the game. We have 6 resources under the rule. In fact, it's actually with the oil bonus, we get an extra one. So anyway, I hope you learned maybe a few ideas here on how to play the bad guys on Labyrinth Global War on Terror. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.